Memo number 001-2023-CS, and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet current expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. Can I get a mover? Thanks. Councillor Pelletier Ducharme. And a seconder? Thanks. Councillor Foley. Discussion? Maybe Steph, you can just share a little bit about this motion. Thanks.
So as mentioned in the memo, from time to time the municipality may require the need to access funds through short-term borrowing to meet their current expenditures. Although every effort is made to ensure the municipality's cash flow is stable, there may be times where we would need to access the short-term funds should the need arise. So as part of the reporting conditions, our financial institutions requires a council-approved borrowing bylaw as well as a security agreement in January of every year, which have both been included in the council package for your approval.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions? All those in favor? I guess it's just memorize. Okay. Item B, memo number 002-2023-CS, the Roma Conference delegations. And I do have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 002-2023-CS for information purposes. Can I get a mover? Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor Ducharme. And discussion? Does anybody have any questions with regards to the delegation? We're going to Roma. We do have 3 delegations. The information was in there. I think it's, when we do go to these conferences, it's really nice that we can lobby and really push, our concerns, forward and seeing if we can get support. So, thank you. Go to item C. All those in favor of that motion? Sorry. Yeah. Any discussion? Did you have discussion on that?
Okay, sure. I just wanted to thank you, Mayor LaFerriere. I just wanted to comment on the delegation that just for the public that one of them in regards to the safety through the intersection of Highway 11 and 65, and we're looking at a delegation with the Ministry of Transportation and looking at ways to improve the road safety around that area. So I just wanted to comment so that we'll certainly have a report coming back on that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Item C is a PDAC conference, and we have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores approves the attendance of Mayor LaFerriere to the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada PDAC convention scheduled for March 5th to the 8th, 2023 in Toronto, and further be it resolved that the expenses incurred in attending the said conference be covered in accordance to the municipal business travel and expense policy. Can I get a mover? Thanks, Councillor Foley. Seconder? Thanks, Councillor Pelletier-Living. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion's carried. We also have Ontario Good Roads Association Conference. And I have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores approves the attendance of Councillor Wilson and Councillor Pelletier-Living to the Ontario Good Roads Association Conference scheduled for April the 16th to April the 19th, 2023 in Toronto. The council acknowledges that Councillor Whalen will also be attending the Ogre Conference as President of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNUM, and further be it resolved that the expenses incurred in attending the said conference be covered in accordance to the municipal business travel and expense policy. Discussion? So just the one thing I did want to discuss is, as a team, there was a budget for all of the conferences that we were looking at. That budget was put together assuming we would send 2 people to the conferences, which would be excluding Councillor Whalen, just because the majority of his costs are picked up elsewhere. And when I look at the budget, it is a pretty hefty budget in comparison to what we've seen over the last number of years. Now, the last couple of years, because of the virtual nature of the meetings, we saved a lot of money in travel costs and in hotel rooms. And when we look at where hotel rates have gone, we're looking at $800 a night to $1,000 a night for some of these conferences. And I know everybody, put their names forward, for these conferences. And I just, I guess the ask that I have is, trying to pare that back a little bit. But also when the budget was put together, it assumes that everybody's traveling independently. And I think that, I know for the conference we're going on this weekend, we've tried, and we will be traveling together for the most part, which saves, a fair bit of money in mileage. And I know that also where family members are close by, Councillor Wilson is staying with family and saving, those expenses. So, I'd really like that, for us all to consider that we do travel, together if possible. I know that there's other things that may be going on, and it's not mandatory, but I think, that just allows us to allow more people to participate and learn, through some of these conferences. If everybody's okay with that. The other thing, looking at it, when I look at the AMO conference and how expensive it is, and it is in London, I know Councillor Whalen is participating, and my recommendation is that we don't send anybody else this year, just because of the cost of hotel rooms and the travel, that we look more to next year to send somebody to AMO. So maybe just a little bit of input from everybody, if they're okay with that. Any concerns?
No, I think it's from the feedback I have from other councillors is that the rural, and yourself actually also, the rural conferences, the northern conferences tend to be the most relevant to the work we're doing. So that seems like a good place to maybe pull back a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Councillor Patrick-Levin.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a difference between being interested in something and getting a lot of value back. So if 2 people is enough, so I think we'll have to really be mindful of our spending this year. So that's okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor LaFerriere. Yeah, just a quick comment on that. A lot of the structure of a lot of these municipal conferences are, it's an opportunity to have discussions with provincial government ministers and members of parliament, and trying to develop some relationships that hopefully help our community in the future. But the rural one, as Councillor Deschamps mentioned, it's full attendance with ministers, and same with the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. So we don't necessarily need to go to all of them. You make a really good point about AMO in the sense that it's a very large one, and so you often get heard more effectively at some of the smaller ones. So I think I agree with you 100%. I think it's a good plan. Yeah.
Thank you. So So we do have a motion in front of us with regards to Ontario Good Roads. Yes. So can I get a mover and a seconder with regards to Ontario Good Roads? Thanks to you, Councillor Foley. Thank you, Councillor Ducharme. And I'll read that motion again. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores approves the attendance of Councillor Wilson and Councillor Pelche-Living to the Ontario Good Roads Association Conference scheduled for April the 16th to April the 19th, 2023 in Toronto. The Council acknowledges that Councillor Whalen will also be attending OGRA Conference as President of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNUM, and further be it resolved that the expenses incurred in attending the said conference be covered in accordance to the municipal business travel and expense policy. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNUM Conference. And I do have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores approves the attendance of Councillor Ducharme and Mayor Laferriere to the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNUM Conference, scheduled for May 8th to May 10th, 2023 in Parry Sound. That Council acknowledges that Councillor Whalen will also be attending the FNUM Conference as President of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNUM, and further be it resolved that the expenses incurred in attending the said conference be covered in accordance to the municipal business travel and expense policy. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks. Councillor Pelche-Living. Seconder, Councillor Wilson. Discussion. All those in favor? That motion is approved. Okay. And go to item D, the administration report number CS 001-2023 radio advertising CJTT. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of administration report CS 001-2023 and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into a 3-year radio contract with CJTT 104.5 FM for consideration at the January 17th, 2023 regular Council meeting. Can I get a mover? Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor Foley.
Bill's going to be there for 3 years.
Discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item E, the administration report number CS-002-2023, health and safety compliance. I have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of administration report CS-002-2023, and the Council confirms it has reviewed the City of Temiskaming Shores health and safety policy and program and the violence in the workplace harassment and violence in the workplace prevention program in accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you. Councillor Graydon, can I get a seconder? Councillor Pelche-Living. Discussion?
Just a quick comment,
Mayor
Laferriere. Thank you. Very important. Want to make the point that as directors and officers of a corporation, we're responsible for the safety of workers, and sort of speaking on behalf of everybody, I'm sure we take health and safety very seriously, and want to be kept up to date on any issues around occupational health and safety. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item F, administration report number CS-003-2023, 2023, a site license agreement, Bell Mobility, the telecommunications tower. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administration Report CS-003-2023, and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into a 5-year license agreement with Bell Mobility for the City of Temiskaming Shores communication equipment on their Dawson Point Tower for consideration at the January 17th, 2023 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Foley, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? So this particular tower, we do lease some space and we have equipment on their tower, but there's also another tower here located in the former town of Haileybury where they actually lease space from the city. We own the property, and they're pretty much offsetting the two agreements. Just to give you a little bit of background on that. Any discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item G, Administration Report PPP-001-2023, Appointment of Volunteer Firefighter. I have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administration Report PPP-001-2023, and that Council hereby appoints Sebastian Bouchard as Volunteer Firefighter to the Temiskaming Shores Fire Department in accordance with the Recruitment and Retention Program. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Foley, seconded by Councillor Descharnes. Discussion? Steve, maybe do you want to just say a few words?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We're just looking to fill a vacancy at Station 3, the Diamond Station. They have a couple of vacancies. We're going to fill one of them. It's nice to keep our numbers as close to 25 as we can at each station to ensure adequate numbers for emergency responses. So the officers did interview a couple of candidates and brought Sebastian forward, and we're certainly recommending that he be appointed.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mayor Ferrier. Just want to welcome Sebastian to the volunteer fire departments. Again, we're so fortunate to have great volunteers. So, welcome.
Awesome. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item H, memo number 001-2023-PW. Rate increase for recycling agreement with the surrounding municipalities. I do have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 001-2023-PW, and that Council approves a 6.6% rate increase to the surrounding municipalities for the acceptance of recycling materials at the Spoke Transfer Station from $311.23 per ton to $331.77 per ton, effective Jan 1, 2023. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Pelletier-Living. Seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion. Steve, maybe you can just give us a little bit of background on that, please.
Sure, thanks, and good evening, everyone. So the municipality, the cities are currently in agreements with 7 surrounding municipalities for the acceptance of recycling material. Those include Cobalt, Armstrong, Chamberlain, Charlton, Harley, Harris, and Hudson. I'm glad I remembered them. So we established this rate back in 2015 when we went to the full solid waste management program and did the curbside collection for the recycling materials. The rate was established based on the costs that the city has for the transportation plus the processing and contamination fees associated with the processing, as well as we incorporated utility costs at the Spoke Transfer Station location where all the recyclable material is stored, plus an administration fee on top of that. So since 2015, council's typically approved an increase to this rate based on the CPI increase obligations that we have in those two multi-year contractual agreements with our transporter and our processor.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Any other discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item I, memo number 001-2023-RS, the Rotary Splash Pad update. Be it resolved that the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 001-2022-RS for information purposes. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Foley. Thanks, Councillor Graydon. Discussion. Matt, maybe you could just give us a few words around.
So as stated in the memo, staff, in response to some questions that we received from the RFP that was previously released for this project, decided that the best course of action to ensure that this is completed on time was to cancel that RFP and reissue it. And this memo is updating council on that course of action.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Any discussion? All those in favor? The motion's carried. That brings us to item 16, our bylaws. I do have a motion in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-001, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the payment of taxes and to establish penalty and interest charges. Bylaw number 2023-002, being a bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet current expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. Bylaw number 2023-003, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement with CJTT 104.5 FM for radio advertising. Bylaw number 2023-004, being a bylaw to enter into a license agreement with Bell Mobility, Inc. to house City of Temiskaming Shores communication equipment on the Dawson Point tower, and be hereby introduced and given first and second reading. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Graydon. Seconded by Councillor Peltier-Leving. Discussion? All those in favor? That motion's carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-001, bylaw number 2023-002, bylaw number 2023-003, and bylaw number 2023-004 be given third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover? Councillor Foley, seconded by Councillor Descharmes. Discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. This brings us to item 17, which is a schedule of our council meetings. So A, a regular meeting of council scheduled for February the 7th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And B, our regular meeting of council for February the 21st, 2023 at 6 p.m. This brings us to our second question and answer period. Is there any questions?
Yeah, sorry. So first off, I want to apologize to our taxpayers. The live stream computer decided to do an update at item 13. And it's a pretty hot topic right now. So I'm just wondering if we could get written statements from Councillor Descharmes and Councillor Wilson. I know they're quite lengthy, so I don't want you to have to repeat yourself tonight, but that was a request from online.
Yeah, I don't mind to just say, I think it is really important to riders that they hear it, so.
Yes.
We did have a question. The Transit Committee met today. We had a good update, and I just want to offer a quick verbal report and answer a question from Mr. Grayson that was presented. So I just wanted to let the public know that, and Mr. Grayson, that indeed the committee has been throughout this process looking for a return to its full-size bus fleet as soon as possible. The idea is not to continue with the taxis and things ongoing. What is in process right now from our update is that both the city and Voyago are in the process of completing maintenance and checks so that they can make sure that the buses are safe for all our riders. Even if the buses were left in good condition, we all still have a legal obligation to do those checks and do our due diligence and make sure that those buses are safe. So I know this is a difficult time for riders, and this work is being treated with the urgency it deserves, but it does take a bit of time. So thank you again for your patience. So the answer, of course, is yes. We're hoping to go to full-size buses as soon as possible. When the committee has looked at the schedule going forward, I think everybody on the committee recognizes that an every 2-hour schedule does not work for many riders. As soon as possible, we're looking to move back to an hourly schedule, particularly at peak times. Going forward, I think the committee is unanimous in providing a service that's responsive to the public and the riders. And just like in many municipalities, that schedule is based on demand for users. So yes, we want to shift back to that hourly service, particularly during busy times of day. But in general, create a schedule that's responsive to demand and responsive to the needs of those who use the system. Cities often run buses during rush hour. Any city I've been to runs more buses during rush hours. This is part of how we make a transit system that's affordable, sustainable, and that is responsive. Obviously, I think the big piece the committee is looking at is that we understand that our transit system has to work for the people who use it, the riders, and we want to create a schedule that meets their needs. So I hope that that answers your question, Mr. Grayson, and other members of the public. I'm going to let Councillor Wilson just give a little bit more of an update.
Thank you, Councillor Ducharme. Yes, we had a good transit committee meeting today, and I have a few comments, but I also wanted to just thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank our staff, Amy Vickery and Mitch Lafreniere, Mitch McCrank have been doing some great work and moving the process along as quickly as they have, and they've been working flat out on this, and while also performing other duties, and also thanks to the staff who've been taking questions and that type of thing. I'd also like to thank Mr. Grayson for the question. This is the place to ask the questions, and this is the kind of respectful discussion we need to have. Your questions are very important to us, and we need to answer them. But just to echo Councillor Ducharme's words, we are moving ahead as quickly as possible, and things are moving along quite well. But there are things that have to happen, as Councillor Ducharme mentioned. Also, a very important thank you to DK Taxi for stepping up and providing a service to our community in this difficult time. They've been also working flat out and have really stepped up for our community. So thanks to DK Taxi for that. This whole transition process, sort of identifies the importance of our transit system to our community. It helps support our citizens, our businesses. It improves quality of life by providing mobility for a lot of people. It makes life more affordable for many people. For people who can't or don't want to own a vehicle, that the cost of a vehicle is very, very high, and so it can make life more affordable for people as well. It also helps us meet our climate change goals, and I think this whole transition has been a good lesson in the importance of how important our transit system is, and how that we have to continue to work as a council, as a transit committee, and as a community to make sure our transit system continues to function well. There aren't a lot of small communities our size that have transit systems, and we're very fortunate to have it, and we recognize how important it is, and so. Those are really my comments, Mayor Laferriere and Councillor Ducharme, but just wanted to update on that. So.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Ducharme. Is there any other questions? Okay, moving on to item 19, closed session. We don't have one tonight. So item 20, confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-005, being a bylaw to confirm certain proceedings of council of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores for its regular meeting held on January the 17th, 2023, be hereby introduced and given first and second reading. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Wilson. Councillor Foley. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-005 be given third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Graydon. Seconded by Councillor Peltier-Living. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And last motion for the night. Be it resolved, the council hereby adjourns its meeting at 6:50. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks. Councillor Graydon. Second by Councillor Peltier-Living. All those in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.